Hi guys, it's 3D Mastered here with my latest video on my series of Blender 2.77a Basics. This video is going to be on the navigation around Blender because if you're new to it, it can be quite confusing. So let's get straight into it. So you'll be greeted with this splash screen which shows the date this version was made, the Blender version here. And here you've got your recent files, also you can recover last session, and here there's some links, so you can go, for example, the Blender website. Also here you can see, this says Blender by default, which is the controls, so if you're used to say 3ds Max or Maya's controls, you can select them there, and it changes it to their controls. So for now we're just going to keep it as Blender because that's what we're going to be learning in. So to get rid of the splash screen you can either just click off it or press escape. And then, so you can see it looks fairly confusing and well you probably have no idea what everything does, especially if you're new to 3D design. So I'll start off down here. Down here is the timeline for if you're making animations in Blender. So these are the frames, so you can view what frame you're on, either here, it says, 36 next to what's selected, or you can see here, it says 36, you can also scrub along here if you just left click and hold. Here this is the frame that your scene or animation will start at. So if I want it to say start at scene 13, I just drag it along to there, or type in a number if I want to be very specific. And this is the ending frame, so 40, for example. So now you can see here, you can use the middle mouse wheel to scroll in and out, and you can press down the middle mouse button to pan. So I'm going to zoom in so I can see it nicely. There we go. Also above this here you've got this is what down here would do. So you can have another timeline if we wanted. We can have a node editor or a file browser or anything we want really. So I'm just going to keep this to, so I'm just going to keep this to 3D view, I think, and change that back to my timeline. So yeah, here you've got object mode and edit mode and sculpt mode and vertex paint and weight paint and texture paint. So all your different kind of modes, if you want to put it that way, for Blender. So object mode, that's just, well, normal, if you want to call it that. And edit mode, this is, you can fine tune the shape. So if I just show you quickly there, and sculpt mode, you can also sculpt, and these are the only three we'll be worrying about for now because that's what we're going to be using. Also here you can change how you view the object that's in the 3D view, so I can have rendered, I can have a bounding box, or wireframe, or just solid, which it is by default. Here you can choose whether the translation tools are shown. You can also have rotate and scale. Here this is what layer, sorry, this is what layer you're on. So I'm just going to stay on one. No. There we go. Also, you might accidentally do this. You might accidentally think, hang on, you might accidentally press a number, say, oh, I press 1, and you might panic. You're like, oh no, all my work's gone. It hasn't, it's just you've moved layer, which can be common problem that I've seen. Here, this is also even more layers. So there's a lot of layers. Here, you don't need to worry about any of that for now. Here you've got render scene and render film, if there was one, but there isn't an animation. Oops. So that's the bottom mainly covered. Also, you can add objects here. Along here, you've got your play and pause button for your animations. So we'll go down here now. So you've got transform tools and editing the shapes mainly. You've got create, which is where you can add objects. You've got relationships. You don't really need to worry about that for now. You've got animation, so you can insert keyframes, and bake, which is basically like rendering but an animation. You've got physics and grease pencil, which is just fun. It's like a paintbrush you can draw things on, but if I just show you quickly, it doesn't show up in the render, which is cool. And up here we've got, well, I'm sure from many other applications you know what the file does. You can open new things or just create a new file altogether. Open recent, recover last session, import, export things, save. And you've got render up here. So render animation, render image, Windows. And then there's help there, but I'm all the help you need. Here you've got what view it is, so animation changes to an animation view, full 3D view, motion tracking, all sorts really, but just keep it in default. Scene, these are all your different scenes if you've named them. Here, this is depending on what you make it. So Cycles Render is the newest engine with like the sexiest look and all that. Or you've got Blender Render, which is just by default, and Blender Game, which is change some of the settings if you want to make games. Here, this is like a hierarchy for the, I love that word, by the way, hierarchy, but for the 3D view. So it tells you everything that's currently in the view, and you can select it by left clicking on it here. So cube, camera, and all sorts. Here, this is the main like tools that you can use to do things. So there's here the little camera is rendering options, scene options, world options, the object that's selected options, and we don't need to know that. We've got here modifiers, which can be very helpful. So say screw, and it kind of just messed up the shape, but you can really have lots of fun. I recommend just messing around with all them, and you can make all sorts. We've got materials, so you can change the colour of what it'll look like when it's rendered. So if I render that, it's now pink. On that, you've got textures, so if you want to make something really realistic, you can use textures. And particles, that's an also very fun thing to mess around with. And physics, which is also very fun to mess around with. So that covers pretty much the main everything you need to know for now of the navigation. My next episode will be on basic modelling, and don't worry, in that video I will be covering the controls, like how to move things, rotating and all that. So don't worry, I haven't forgot it. I will show you in that video. But that's this video done. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next episode, and goodbye.